It's estimated that 10 to 30% of drugs in low and middle income countries are counterfeit, according to the 2017 report by the World Health Organization. Are prescription drugs from street vendors safe to use? In this video, we'll explore the risks and dangers of buying prescription medications from unverified sources. From counterfeit drugs to unregulated dosages, we'll dive into the potential health consequences of taking drugs from street vendors and even licensed pharmacies. When I recently traveled to Mexico and Canada with my mom, a retired nurse, and my aunt, a retired pharmacist, the first time we bought what is over the counter drugs in Canada, but in the US, these drugs need a prescription. The drugs were bought at a local Walmart, and I thought nothing about it except what happens if they find out at the border. The second time, though, was in Mexico at a street vendor right in the cruise port we were at. This is when I started questioning how safe it was to buy prescription drugs in another country. Buying prescription drugs from other countries is one way some Americans have coped with rising drug prices. A new University of Florida study published today in JAMA Network Open finds that 1.5% of adults, or more than 2 million Americans, purchase their prescription drugs from outside the US to save money. When I was doing my research for this video, I came across Tristan's story. Tristan, a 22-year-old, walked into a Mexican pharmacy for oxycodone. He died from fentanyl 48 hours later. Tristan visited a pharmacy while on a family cruise in Mexico. When he returned to Salem, his mother found him dead in his bedroom. 4 months later, she received the final toxicology report from the state medical examiner. It showed Tristan had fentanyl along with the anti-seizure drug clozapam. His death was officially classified as an accident. Researchers have found Mexican pharmacies selling prescription drugs laced with fentanyl, meth, and heroin. Turns out the problems of counterfeit prescription pills isn't limited to one Mexican pharmacy or even one city. 2 months after Tristan's death, researchers at UCLA published a study where they sent shoppers without prescriptions to 40 tourist-oriented pharmacies across 4 cities in northern Mexico. They asked for single pills of oxycodone, Xanax, or Adderall. Back in the lab, researchers used both infrared light along with test strips to identify the contents of the pills. The Xanax pills were all authentic, but 9 out of 11 of the samples sold as Adderall contained meth. 8 of 27 of those sold as oxycodone contained fentanyl, and 3 out of the 27 contained heroin. Why should you be cautious when it comes to buying prescriptions while in another country? Counterfeit drugs. One of the biggest risks when buying prescription medications from unverified sources is counterfeit drugs. These drugs are often made with incorrect or harmful ingredients, which can be dangerous to your health. A 2017 report by the World Health Organization estimated that 10 to 30% of drugs in low and middle income countries are counterfeit. Unregulated dosages. Prescription medications from street vendors are often not subject to regulation, meaning the dosages may vary or be incorrect. This could lead to overdoses, underdoses, or side effects that could be harmful. Lack of medical supervision. Street vendors typically don't have any medical qualifications or oversight. Without proper consultation or monitoring, taking medication without professional guidance could lead to serious interactions with other medications or pre-existing conditions. Lack of medical supervision. Street vendors typically don't have any medical qualifications or oversight. Without proper consultation or monitoring, taking medication without professional guidance could lead to serious interactions with other medications or pre-existing conditions. Dangerous substitutes. Some street vendors may offer alternatives or cheaper versions of brand name drugs, but these substitutes could be ineffective or harmful. Some drugs may also have incorrect labeling or no active ingredients at all. Health consequences. Using unverified medication can lead to severe health consequences, including allergic reactions, poisoning, or worsening of the condition the medication was meant to treat. For example, taking the wrong medication for a condition like diabetes could lead to dangerous complications like hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. Risk of drug resistance. Using antibiotics or other medications without proper guidance can lead to drug resistance, which is a major public health concern. Misuse of antibiotics, for instance, can render them ineffective against certain bacteria, leading to more difficult to treat infections. Legal and ethical issues. In many countries, including the US, it is illegal to import prescription medications without a prescription from a licensed doctor. Buying drugs from street vendors can also contribute to the illegal drug trade and may have legal repercussions. Regulated pharmacies. While some pharmacies in Mexico are well regulated and licensed, street vendors are not held to the same standards. If you do want to buy medication in Mexico, it's safer to go to a reputable pharmacy where you can receive professional advice. Quality assurance. Reputable pharmacies have processes to ensure the quality and authenticity of the drugs they sell. Street vendors, on the other hand, don't have the same guarantees and could be selling medication with no oversight or quality control. Potential for contamination. Medications sold by street vendors are often improperly stored, exposed to heat, humidity, or contamination, which can compromise the drug's effect or safety. For example, temperature-sensitive medications like insulin need to be stored properly to remain effective. FDA warnings. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and other health authorities frequently warn against buying medications from unverified sources, including street vendors in Mexico. Many of these medications don't meet safety and quality standards. Patient safety. Many health organizations, including the American Medical Association, advise against buying medications from unauthorized sources. They stress the importance of consulting a licensed healthcare professional before purchasing any prescription drug, especially from a foreign or unverified source. The risk of self-medicating. Many people may attempt to self-medicate using prescription drugs bought from street vendors in an attempt to save money or avoid seeing a doctor. However, self-medication can lead to misdiagnosis, inappropriate drug use, and severe complications. Online pharmacies. Some street vendors might operate online, making it even harder to verify the quality of the medication. The same risks apply when buying online from unverified sources, with the added challenge of never actually seeing the product before it's delivered. Cultural perception and convenience. In some cases, individuals may purchase medication from street vendors due to cultural perceptions or the convenience of the transaction, especially in the tourist areas. However, the risk far outweigh the convenience in these situations. While buying prescription drugs abroad, especially from street vendors, might seem like an easy way to save money or skip the red tape, the dangers are real and potentially life-threatening. Counterfeit drugs, unregulated dosages, and even deadly substances like fentanyl are just a few of the serious risks. And what happens if someone is caught bringing prescription drugs from abroad into the US without proper authorization? They could face several penalties depending on the type and amount of medication, intent, and previous offenses. Here are some of the potential consequences. Confiscation of medication. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers can seize any prescription drugs that do not comply with regulations. Even if you have a valid prescription, certain controlled substances, i.e., opiates, stimulants, sedatives, are subject to strict rules. Fines and civil penalties. Travelers caught attempting to import unauthorized prescription drugs may face fines. Civil penalties vary but can be in the hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on the severity of the violation. Criminal charges. If someone is found smuggling large quantities of medication, they could face drug trafficking charges. Intent matters. If the drugs are for personal use, penalties may be lighter, but if there's evidence of resale or distribution, it could lead to felony charges. Being denied entry or detained. If caught with unauthorized prescription drugs, travelers may be detained for questioning. U.S. citizens could still face legal trouble, while non-citizens could be denied entry or even face visa issues. Controlled substance violations. Some medications, such as painkillers, ADHD medications, and anti-anxiety drugs, are classified as controlled substances by the DEA. Attempting to bring controlled substances across the border without proper documentation could lead to drug possession charges under U.S. law. Being placed on a watch list. Repeated violations may result in being flagged in the system, leading to extra screening at border crossings in the future. Federal and state level consequences. Federal agencies like the FDA, DEA, and ZBP work together to regulate drug imports. State laws may also impose additional penalties depending on the jurisdiction. Exceptions and legal ways to bring medication. If a traveler declares the medication as a valid U.S. prescription and carries a limited supply, usually 90 days or less, it may be allowed. Some medications, especially controlled substances, still require additional documentation such as a doctor's note. Now, when I was in Mexico with my mom and aunt, what started as a simple purchase made me think twice. And the story of Tristan drove the message home. It's not just about legality, it's about your life, your health, and your safety. If you're ever consider buying medication in another country, stick with licensed pharmacies and always consult a health professional first. Saving a few dollars isn't worth gambling with your health. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up, subscribe for more travel and safety insights, and let me know in the comments, have you ever bought medication while traveling? And what was your experience?